Hi, my name is Matt Lee, and I'm the market manager for KORT in Lexington, Kentucky, Kentucky Orthopedic Rehab Team. And I'm in the beautiful Shinaway Clinic, and Dr. Lee Miller has allowed us to use it. And what we want to talk about today is interview tips. And I know this is a very stressful time. You finish PT school, and you feel like everything hinges on this first job, and you've invested time and money, and you want to get the job you want. And not only that, but the interview is really stressful because you don't really know the rules of the game. So what I want to share with you right now is the employer's playbook. And other employers are going to say, Matt, you're giving away all the secrets. But I want to share with you what we're looking for and share with you tips and tricks that are going to really help you to interview really well. So the first thing you really have to think about is the interview itself. And think about the purpose of the interview. And the purpose of the interview is to make a connection. And it's to make a connection between you and your potential employer and your potential employer and you. It's not an exam. And I think this is really hard because as a PT student, you've been examined with lab practicals, with tests, and you think of this thing as like a pass-fail. And an interview is absolutely not that. So when you think about an interview, when people walk out and they say, I bombed an interview, really, the only way you can bomb an interview is if you don't make a connection. So your goal is to make this connection between you and the employer. And what you're trying to figure out is you're trying to figure out culture, you're trying to figure out mission and vision of the organization, and think about, does my vision and culture and my values match the company? And the company is trying to figure out the same thing about you. For this individual, does my mission, does my values, is that carried out through this person? And then you also have to think about the time spent, because you spend a lot of time at work. So you think about 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, for 52 weeks out of a year, and that is a lot of time. So you also want to think about the personal component of this. You want to think about, I think I would like to spend that much time with this employer. Will I like them? Are they enjoyable? And then also, it's the flip side. The employer is looking at you saying, that is a lot of time I'm spending with somebody. Do you think I'll enjoy them? Do you think they're going to be fun? Do you think they're going to be kind? Do you think they're going to meet the mission of what we're trying to accomplish? So when you think about that interview purpose, it's all about making that connection from employer to you, and that's the big thing you're really trying to accomplish. So when we talk about the playbook, I'm going to give you a few tips and a few plays that are going to help you to figure this out. And the first play is be yourself. You be you. And sometimes interviewees come in and they're just so terrified, and they sit down and it turns into this like yes no interaction, and almost they feel like it's an interrogation. But what we're looking for is for you to be yourself. So we're looking for you to share with us about your hobbies and your interests, and we're looking for like a story that's personal about you. We're looking for a way that we can understand how are we going to connect with you. So don't hold your cards too close to the vest, and share with yourself, and don't be too guarded, because a good interview is about making that connection and about showing your card and saying, this is who I am. And I'm telling you who I am because I want you to help me figure out if this is a good match. The second tip is you actually have to make a connection with the person that's interviewing you. And I think this is super important. And I'll meet and do interviews, and it's all about the person will just continually talk about themselves and their goals and their interests, but it's about making a connection with the person on the other side of the table. So you want to ask questions about the person that's interviewing you and find out their interests, find out their what their likes, what their hobbies are, and create that personal connection with them. And it is a lot of work. It's not like a classic interview where you're just talking about yourself. You're really trying to find out about that other person. And it's a dual process on a good interview. One of the coolest stories I heard about this is somebody was using an interview, and they used social media. And before their interview, they went on Facebook, they went on LinkedIn, and they learned about this person. At the end of their interview, they learned that this person loved hockey and they coached their 10-year-old kid in hockey. So as the interview was wrapping up, this person said, I saw that you really liked hockey. And the guy just lit up and he said, I do. And I coach my 10-year-old son. And he went on and on about the hockey. And it just made a nice connection. But this person took it the next step and then asked the person, well, what's your favorite hockey movie? And the guy was completely taken back. He said, well, I have 2 movies I really love. And boy, that really started a good connection with that person. And that connection was important for them. And they really, it was a good process. So before your interview, look up the person that you're interviewing and find out their hobbies, find out their interests. If they don't have a social media presence, the PT community is fairly small. Call somebody that knows them and ask, hey, what does John like? What are his hobbies? What are his interests? And make that connection, because as soon as you do that, your life really gets much easier. Play number 3 is have a direction. And you don't have to be solidly saying, in 2 years I want to get an OCS, or I want to get a neuro certification, or I want to get a manual therapy fellowship. But just be very general that like in a certain amount of time frame, you want to accomplish something, whether that's certifications, whether that's advanced coursework, whether that's whatever. And what that does, that shows the employer that you actually want to move forward in a very strategic way, and you're thinking about the long-term future. But the other thing is, don't just talk about that. If you're going to work in a place that has patient care as your number one goal, your direction is going to be working with patients. So mention that you have an interest in patients. And I'll finish interviews sometimes and people want to talk about their direction, their 2-year plan, their 3-year plan, their 5-year plan, and they don't mention patients at all. And I think to myself, you're going to be working with patients every day. So I want to hear that there's an interest in patients, and there's an interest in patients' lives and their outcomes and their well-being, and that really goes a long way in terms of showing the direction you want to grow. And really, if you can say that, then the certifications actually matter in relation to patient care. The other thing is, in play number 4, is if you want it, say it. And sometimes when you're interviewing, you kind of feel like you shouldn't really say, I want to work with this company, or you shouldn't really put yourself out there. But if you have a crush on the company and the employer and the vision, say it. It's super helpful to say, I want to work with you, and this is the reason why. I want to work with you because I believe in what you guys are doing from an education standpoint, or I believe in what you guys are doing from a patient outcome standpoint, or I believe in the quality of your staff, or I love this person that works here. Say it, and it makes the whole process so much easier, because an employer knows, oh wow, this person is so interested and they're committed in us. So don't hold your cards too close to the vest in terms of your interest. Like I said, if you really want it, say it. Let people know. That's really, really an important deal. The last tip is your follow-up. And you're going to go to all kinds of websites and they're always going to say follow-up. And I just had a conversation today with somebody and they said, when should you really follow up after the interview? Should you follow up immediately, or should you follow up a few days later? And I don't really think it matters, but it's not when you follow up, but it's really the quality of your follow-up. So you can follow up by email, you can follow up by a letter, a note card. But what's really cool is if you bring something in that note card that you connected with that person earlier. So for example, in the hockey player, it's really good to say, in that follow-up, I enjoyed meeting you, enjoyed talking about the position or whatever, and then follow up, hey, I did some research on your favorite movie, and I found out that, this person started it and this person started it. But what that does to the employer, it shows that you're making a relationship and that you're active in making a relationship and able to continue with a good conversation with somebody. And why these are important is because we are really in a very person-centered field, and we are dealing with people all day. And these tips are really what employers are looking for, to say, when somebody comes in to see you, are you going to make an active connection with them? Can you do that? Do you have the ability to do that? And are you interested in them? So, just to summarize the playbook, be yourself. 1, you be you. 2, make a connection with a person. And that relationship that you're making with them and the effort you're putting out to get to know them is really, really important. 3 is show your direction. Show your direction in terms of certification. Show your direction in terms of clinical interest, but also show your direction in terms of your passion for patient care if you're going to go in a patient care position. So show that direction. Number 4, if you want it, say it. Number 4 is just put yourself out there. If you really want this position, don't wait for them to come to you. Go to them and say, I want this because X, Y, Z. And the last one is follow up. But don't just follow up with like a generic note. Follow up with something meaningful. Follow up with something you talked about. Follow up with something that you've actually researched. That's probably the most important thing, is that if you research something and take the conversation even further, that conversation still exists. So I hope these 5 plays from the employer playbook is helpful for you, and it takes some of the pressure off of the interview process and makes you more successful. Thank you.